All right, we're trying this thing again. It is Camtasia 2022's release. I tried to do this a little earlier, didn't work out, so I'm trying this again. What I wanted to do was talk about Camtasia 2022. I want to take a little bit more time and go through the things that I see in Camtasia 2022 and try and maybe stumble around a little bit, take a little bit longer rather than having a more scripted or more refined video. So stick with me and we'll look at some of the new things in Camtasia 2022. Let's start by looking at our screen. Yes, okay, and it cut over correctly. I specifically want to look at our Techsmith website because here they talk about the Camtasia Windows version history. Of course, there's a history for Mac as well. But really what I want to focus on today are all these new things. And you can see that the list goes on beyond a full page. Now, I consolidated these down probably to about maybe I would call it 5 or so major changes that are here in Camtasia 2022. So if you're interested, you can go to Techsmith's website. There is a URL there. And you can see what the new changes are. If you want to see how I got there, I went over to Techsmith products. I clicked on Camtasia, and then I scrolled all the way down to the bottom, and I saw where it said Windows version history, and that's where I got this good information. So let's talk through this. Let's figure out what the different things are and play around with it inside Camtasia. So I have just installed it on my PC, and hopefully if I click, let's see, this button, yes, it does go over to Camtasia. Perfect. So let's look at some of those things that we see inside Camtasia. I'm going to start with, I'm going to start at the top of the list and let's move our way down. So it starts by saying added support for virtual cameras and camera capture cards. I guess things like OBS, if you're familiar with streaming, like I'm trying to do right now, there are virtual cameras installed in software packages like that. Camtasia now supports the ability for you to use those virtual cameras, or think of them almost like as an export camera to use within Camtasia. So for example, right now, the screen you're looking at now, it has a background that's animated, it has me and the camera here, it has the, where is it, this way, it has the information screen over here. All of this is one image. That could be a virtual camera output that Camtasia could use as a camera. So you know, I'm compositing, I'm putting together multiple feeds here, the background, my camera video, and the information on the screen over here. That could be a single camera that Camtasia could use for recording. Okay, next one, retired the legacy recorder. Okay, so the legacy recorder, if you remember, you could use that in Camtasia 2021. Now you can't. Added ability to edit cursor path position based on metadata captured by Camtasia recorder. Whew, that's a mouthful. Let's look at this. Let's see if we can make this work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Camtasia. Let's go full screen on that guy. And what I want to look at is this idea of cursor paths, because that's probably the first major item would be cursor paths. And yes, perfect. So I'm going to go over and look at visual effects. And then they should have a cursor path. There it is, cursor path. I'm just going to grab this and drag this over. And is it going to put it on a blank canvas? I don't see that it's doing that. So let's grab something from the library. And we can see the library is another, it's probably the second big item that they've updated. But let's throw something on here and then we'll try and add a cursor path to that. So we can't throw a cursor path onto a blank canvas, it looks like. Can we throw it onto that? Maybe I have to have something more substantial. Okay, not to worry. Let's grab, let's see, can I do this screen recording and grab it and pull that in? Okay, so here's a screen recording that I did. Let's try and add a cursor path to that. So visual effects, cursor path, can I add you here? I don't see that it's doing that here. Maybe it has to be an item that's recorded in 2022. So that's interesting. Can't just drag this over. Okay, well, let's try. Nope, I can't add it to selected media. I can't add it to this. Okay, let's add it to an image then. I should have an image like this thumbnail. And let's try and add the cursor path to that. The cursor path, can we add? Yes, we can. Okay, so I'm not sure why we couldn't add it to something you know, to nothing, but let's say we added it to this particular item. All right, let's zoom in here and see this cursor path. So with the cursor path, you can see it has this starting point, it has an ending point, and here in the timeline, we see there's a duration. So what I can do is I can extend this duration. as long as I want or as short as I want to make this longer. Or what you'll see here is you can break it up into other places as well. So if I were to just scrub through this, I see that the cursor goes from the top to bottom. What if you need more points? Okay, well, let's move our cursor here, and let's say I want something to happen at that point. Well, when I look here, in fact, let's make this a little easier. Let me select this and drop this opacity down. Interesting. So I grab the thumbnail. Oh, Control Z to undo. That was the opacity of the mouse cursor. There we go. I wanted to be able to see. Let's delete these things underneath. I just want to be able to see the cursor. Okay, so back here, what do I need to do? Expand this to see the cursor path? Or just click on the tab here. All right, so we're going to edit the cursor path. I said right here, maybe I want this cursor to go somewhere else. So I want it to come over here. And then a little bit later, but not too far later, I want it to go up to this point. And then over here, at this time, I want it to go all the way up here. And then at the end, swing down. So you can see you can create this cursor path, and at different points in the timeline, I can have it move, a little bit over to one side or whatever, right? So just go over here, and we can manipulate that. You can also see that as I'm here at the beginning, it's only showing me the first part of this cursor path. So if this is a very long cursor path, like we know that it ends down here, but it's not showing me that. It's just showing me these first few at the beginning, and then the further I get, then it shows me less and less. So there's some sort of time window showing me whatever the cursor path is. I can also see that I can manipulate these points. So if I needed to move this up a little bit, I can do that. Or let's see, if I looked at this curve, it has these options to change the curve to make it, a stronger magnitude, or spin it around to change the direction if I need to. So it has these Bezier handles on it that can move, and I think I can hold down Alt to break it if I need to. Nope, I don't see that it's doing that. But here's cursor paths. So this is something new. We were able to add this cursor path to this image. Great. And of course, with that, we can put this on any kind of screenshot. So if you have a static screenshot, let's say, you could animate that screenshot to say, first click here, then click here, and you basically create your own mouse cursor path. So that's cursor paths. Also with cursor paths, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. They said in the recorder, you can capture these cursor paths. So if you record in Camtasia 2022, it captures that mouse data, and then you can change that mouse cursor data in the recording. You can't do it retroactively in previous recordings because the recorder didn't capture that metadata of the cursor path. But in Camtasia 2022, you can. Now, I'm not going to do a recording right now to show you this. The path you see on the screen, it's very similar. And the reason for that is because we ran into an issue with recording the screen and conflicts with my streaming software. So we will skip that. But let's go back to our browser and take a look at some of the other things that we have in the browser. We have, let's see, so we said add the cursor path to any image, cursor path editing. Yep. The recorder grabs it. Yep. Cursor default scale of 225%. Great. Let's look at this. When we look at this path, where is the cursor? Well, I can't really see the cursor well. Wonder why I can't see the cursor well here. Is it because the whole thing, maybe because I added opacity to the whole thing? Let's bring this back up. Yep, there's the cursor. And I guess if I drop the opacity of everything, it even drops the opacity of the cursor path. Okay, fair enough. So here with the cursor path, that cursor size, it's saying, is set to 225, which I appreciate. So when I look at cursor sizes, I actually prefer to see larger cursors. So, if you wanted to move this up to 300 or something like that, or you wanted to go even higher, let's see, we can drag this all the way up to 2000%. Of course, wow, that's, if you need your cursor to be that large, perhaps if you're making a video for folks who are on mobile, that would make sense. But a very large cursor, and then you can even go beyond that if we needed to type in a number. Looks like we can go up to 10,000 there, so we don't need to do that. That's a little ridiculous, but at least the cursor path or the cursor size comes in at 225%. I like that. Let's jump back over to our Windows history. Increase range for cursor scale up to 2,000. Oh, and then just the things we talked about. So the scale slider goes up to 2,000, then 10,000%. Maximum if we want to type it in. Add the ability to set cursor default scale in preferences. Okay, well, let's try that. Edit preferences, Control comma is the way to get in there. And let's see, is there, I don't see it quickly here. It might have been there. Project, it probably was there. Oh, there it is, default cursor scale. Okay, so if I said, hey, I prefer 250, I want the new cursor scale to be 250 by default, then if I were to add a new cursor path, so let me zoom out of this and try and add a new cursor path down here if I can. Nope, can't do that, but perhaps I can edit this cursor path. And can I add a new one now out here? Nope, still can't do that. But my guess is if I were to copy this, paste it, remove the cursor path that's on there now. Let's see, can I remove that? Delete the cursor path, add a new cursor path, came in at 250. Yes, so that did work for us. Okay, so we can edit the default cursor paths, or cursor path size. Next up, what else do we have? So that was setting the scale. Audiate is next. So I don't have Audiate installed. Audiate allows you to edit text inside, well, I shouldn't say edit text. It allows you to edit your audio as if it's text. So if you've seen Camtasia Audiate, it's a sister program that allows you to do some editing. If you delete the words in a text kind of field, it'll delete the audio in your video. This video isn't about Audiate, so it looks like there are a few things on Audiate that we can talk about. Like I said, I don't personally use that. I use other programs to edit out the audio that I don't want. Time Bolt is the one that I use. So we'll continue on and see what else is on here. Looks like more, integration. So you can edit with Audiate, auto sync with Audiate. Auto stitching automatically joins edited media into a single clip. Okay, single virtual media to allow easy application of effects, animation, and cursor adjustments. All right, well, let's give that a shot. So if we were to do a split, so let's say I have this item and I want to do a split, I can use the split button here. I usually just use the S key on my keyboard. Okay, I don't see anything there. That's expected. If I go in here and select and do Control X, then I expected there. Okay, maybe because these are images and not videos. So let's go over to the library. Let's grab a video instead. So I'll go to, and of course the library has changed a bit. Let's do, I don't want callouts, channel kit. I mean, maybe channel kit has something I need. Nope. I'm really looking for something more like a background. Cursor, 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 emphasis, express. Actually, this might work. Is this a video? Let's go here. Yes. So keep it at 30 frames per second as opposed to 60. Yes, that's fine. So this is a video. Okay. So we can see this little like clicking. I want to say explosion. Explosion sounds a little bit more dramatic than what this is. But let's say I want to select this and Control X. There we go. Okay. So I did a Control X. It is still stitched and it is one contiguous item as opposed to being split into a couple. If I go to preferences, let's see. Yeah, enable auto stitching is checked by default. I personally don't use that very often. I prefer to not have that enabled by default. But it looks like part of what they did was made sure that that's enabled by default to, let's see, what does it say? Joined edited video media into a single virtual media to allow easy application of effects and things. So my guess is whenever we were to go to add some kind of visual effect, whatever that may be, it's easier to do it across this one piece of virtual media rather than it being a couple of pieces. So, okay, they improved that. Good. Next up, new and improved local export experience. Okay, so we have this video. We want to do an export. Let me see if I can zoom in up here. I think I can. So if I go up to export, it looks like now I have local file or legacy local file. So if I go to local file, I now see that it says untitled project, and this is very much streamlined. So this export is, very streamlined, which is great. MP4 recommended. That's fantastic. I give it a name, I give it a location, click export, and it's done. That sounds pretty good. Let's call it a test project, and we can throw it into a folder. And I'll go to my videos temp folder and put it into Camtasia testing and select it, and I'll try export. And then it's going to go through, renders that for me. Let's see what happens at the end, if anything. Successfully exported. Oh, okay. I can view it. I can open the file location. All right, well, let's view the media. Okay, it's opening on my other monitor, which not a problem. Here it is. And I can see there, there's the cursor path, and then I'm sure at the end we'll have that little explosion-y thing, wherever that is. There it is. Okay. Color looked a little different than it did on this monitor. Oh, maybe it's the same. Okay. Yeah, it looks green. It looked blue to me earlier, but who knows? Okay. So it did show me the export, or I could have opened up the file. Nice. I like it. Okay. So let's see what else we want to do here. Let's go back to our list. So new and improved export. Let's look at one other thing up here. Let's see what some of the other options are, because when we look at this, I see that there are other options. So for most people who are doing exports, I think this is going to be very helpful. It's streamlined. You don't have to click next several times like we used to have to do in the past. Advanced settings. Looks like we have the different dimensions, encoding. We can increase, so we can change frame rate, keyframes, and the quality, and then change the audio level. So one of the things that we aren't able to do here is set a specific, we can't set a bit rate. So in the past, I liked to set bit rate rather than quality. I would choose bit rate and export at 15,000 kbps. It doesn't look like I can do that now unless I use the legacy. So maybe if I try legacy, yes, looks like I can still use that. So I could go and do custom. Yeah, and this is what we used to have to do in the past. Okay, great. So I can still go into video settings. I can change it from quality to bitrate. I can change it from baseline to high, things like that. Good. I'm glad I can still do that. Might not be able to do that in the future, who knows? But for now, if we want those extra tweaks in exporting, that's where we would have to go to do that. Most Camtasia users are not going to need that. Deprecated the production wizard. So yep, it looks like it's legacy. Added single click export defaults. My guess is, yeah, that we just click, we go here to export and then we click export. Or maybe it's talking about this in the upper right. If I go up here and just click export, local file, and then, okay, it still opens up the same thing. I didn't know if they made that a little more efficient or not. All right, next up on their list, new and improved Camtasia home experience. Okay, so there is a home button up here. We can click that home button and we see getting started, learn, resources, and then we have some licensing there in the lower left. So we can create new projects. It shows me any recent projects. Of course, I don't have any recent projects because I didn't create anything. This is brand new, just installed it. But we do have some templates. And as I look at this, they have, new templates here. So I think there's like 5 new templates that they come with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I guess the default template, or maybe, yeah, and then it looks like it pulled in some of my previous templates, or a lot of my previous templates. So I'm guessing that it saves the templates in a templates folder and went in, found those, and pulled them in. So let's try this. So let's close out of this for a moment. We'll do a file save as and save our project. We'll go back to our videos, temp, and Camtasia testing, and we'll call this live stream test. Okay, yep, we know it's saved as a project. And let's try a new one. Let's go and create a new project from a template. Okay, so I can see I can create the project from a template here, and it shows my templates. Or, looks like we can download more templates. Okay, I'm curious about that. Or we could use that home button. Well, I don't know, I haven't tried this. Let's try download more templates and see. I'm sure it's going to take us. Okay, so just like we had before, we have some free and premium things that we can download. So if I just want the starter ones, looks like we can download plenty of templates. Nice, and they're even more loading. Okay, I think these are all free. Maybe they're not. It does say by subscription, premium content by subscription. Well, I didn't want the premium, but okay, regardless, there's at least some new stuff that's in here. Okay. I'm going to jump back to Camtasia because I'm more interested in what we have here. And let's say, I don't know, let's just try this first one. Whatever this product overview is. I haven't looked at this yet. All right, so what do we have? We have an intro where we have some title animation. We wipe the screen. Oh, it's almost like a PowerPoint presentation. So animated, item 2, item 3, 4. I see. It's almost, yeah, I see this like an animated PowerPoint. And then an outro. Cool. So yeah, you can have a background video or a background image. Talk about your company or whatever it is you want to talk about for a while. Change the durations on some of these. Interesting. I like it. This is pretty slick stuff here. Now it looks like over here, this was centered. It looks like on this one, it didn't get centered, right? So it's cutting off the right-hand part of the screen on the placeholder, which might be okay. It might not be. Yeah, it looks like this one's centered. So, you know, maybe this one, we would want to center it. You know, do something more like, oop, Control Z. I tried to move that. Because it's on top, it's not going to let me. So what I'm going to do is I am going to hide that track. I'm just going to move this guy over to about here and then bring that track back. Yeah, so I think we would want something more like that comes in. I see. Yeah, maybe we do, maybe we don't. But it's nice to have these new templates. Let's try another one. Let's go to Project from Template. Try this. No, we're not going to save changes. See what's in this Emphasis Effects Asset Pack. And I can see it's taking a little more time to load, I think, than the other one did. So perhaps there's a lot more animation or a lot more content that's in this. We shall see. Kind of surprised at how long it's taking. Okay, yeah, it looks like a whole lot more in here. 5 different tracks. Hands coming together, doing a little clap, animated backgrounds and circles and clicking, and holy moly. Click here and then open this and then click this and then go. I see. So if you're trying to show somebody how to do something. Oh, that text animation was pretty slick too. What is that? Nice. So they have a little bit of a transition in there that it rolls from a 3D roll from one text to another. Oh, that's nice. Got some glow on there. Looks like there's a dual color background, you know, a gradient background, or actually multicolor background. Okay, so pretty slick stuff. My guess is that you would use these different components. You could probably go in and ungroup these different items to get individual parts. So if you needed, you know, let's just say desktop. So if I did a Control U to ungroup, is it going to let me? Yep. Okay, so there are different parts in here. And then even these are different groups. So I don't even know what these different parts are. This one says Mac OS Desktop. Yep. So I can probably ungroup that as well. And then get different, or maybe I should just click the plus sign to go inside. Uh-oh, not responding. That's not a good sign. That's all right. It's probably because I'm streaming and doing all this other camera stuff as well that it's slowing things down. There we go. So here's lots of different shapes. So if you wanted to change the color of any one of these things, or you wanted to resize it, or you pull it out, right? We could just grab this and take this off the screen probably. Yep. All right. So a lot of customizability within this template. All right. I've spent enough time on templates. I'm ready to look at something new. So let's see. We did Production Wizard, exports, home experience, ability to access home anytime. We said we did that. Added Techsmith recorder flyout menu. Okay, that's in the home. So you can record other things as well. So if I go back to the home button here, I see this new recording, and whoop, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to close that and jump back to Camtasia. What I meant to do was click the chevron here to the right and say, oh, do you want a new Camtasia recording, Audiate, or Snagit recording? I don't have those other two installed, so I would have to install those first. But that's all they're saying. Hey, we made a little animated flyout if you wanted to record something else. Okay, well, thank you for that. What else do we have? Added templates, quick access view, Camtasia Home, we saw that. Recent projects, hero thumbnails, and metadata. So with our recent projects, if we go back to Home, and if I go to recent projects, there's that one that I just created. It shows me the date, shows me the time. That seems really large. Okay, 100 megabytes in size. I'm kind of surprised at that. I guess it's the item, the media that I brought in, and shows me that it's a 16-minute video. So nice. We can see a little bit more. It's nice having the thumbnail there, you know, some kind of image to remind us perhaps of what this is, and then also when we last worked on it and the size. So that's great. Rather than before, we just had a list. We didn't have all that detailed information. Okay, next up, trial and account status. And yep, in the lower left, we have that information on the home screen. Enhanced Learn tab experience. So I don't know, you know, I guess this is different. I don't typically use the Learn tab, but I'm guessing it's different. We can search for different tutorials. Next level. Okay. Yep. So it has links to other tutorials. I think it had that in the past, but okay. So update on the Learn side of things. new and improved cross-platform canvas interaction engine. So when it talks about cross-platform, what I believe it's talking about is with the Mac. So when we think about using the PC and the Mac together, we want to have as much consistency between the two platforms as possible. I think they're just saying here on the Canvas side of things that those two things are going to line up and that they're going to just be more consistent, which is great. I think folks have been clamoring, and they've been very happy that there is consistency between PC and Mac. Now it looks like there is even more. All right, so let's continue. Added align assist guides to bounding box interactions, easily align media. All right, let's jump back to Camtasia and see what our aligning media stuff looks like. So we have tons of shapes here. So let's do a Control Z to undo this one. So when I grab this one shape and I start moving it, I can see these align, I called them snap lines in the past, but these are align items. And so what it's showing me is this item, this yellow thing that I'm currently moving, can be aligned to the bottom of, looks like one image. It can be aligned to the bottom of another image. It can be aligned to the center of these items. It can be aligned to, let's move this off to the left. Yeah, so it's aligned to something up here. I can see these X's showing me what it's aligned to. And that's nice. That's very handy. Before we would just have a yellow line and not sure what it was aligned to, if it was aligned to the thing we wanted. And so, it looks like this is saying the center. Oh, there's so many different items in here because I exploded this. Maybe I should pick something that's a little less busy. Let's see what this, can we just move this one thing? Okay, so now I'm moving one thing. There we go. And now it's aligning with different things on the screen. So am I aligning with the left part of the canvas? Am I aligning with the center part of this image up here? It's just, you can see the lines are a lot different, and looks like as I'm moving, there are these X's. So X's are showing me what it's aligned to, if it's left, right, and then what that, I think they call it an anchor point. So let's go here to the end where there's a whole lot less that we're dealing with. And maybe let's expand this group. See if there's something in here. Okay, is this the cursor path perhaps? I'm not even sure what this is. JD gradient. Oh, the gradient, it's the background. Okay, so I can have the gradient. It looks like right now, the gradient is just a little bit above center. So it looks like it's showing me the center of the screen perhaps, and then it's saying the center, the center of the screen is here, so we are aligned center-wise, but we're up a little bit. And that's what I see by those two X's showing me that. So that's interesting. And then if we go back here, it tells us we can adjust the anchor point of media. So I'm not exactly sure how to do that. Like if I right-click in here, I don't see anything that talks about an anchor point. I don't know, I don't see anything. It says we can adjust those anchor points. And I think that the purpose of the anchor point, and I'm not 100% sure, but is for like zooming in and things like that. So right now, if I were to scale this thing up, right, if I go to properties and I say, scale this to 200%, it just zooms to the center. And perhaps I could change the anchor point to the upper left and then it'll zoom to the upper left. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to get back to you on that one. But it says we can change those anchor points. Again, I'm not sure how that happens. I'll figure it out. We're not going to take the time right now to figure out changing anchor points. Anchor point snapping. Yep, adjusted anchor points added to now be stored. Okay, again, I'm not sure how we adjust the anchor points. We'll figure that out. 30 new GPU accelerated transitions. So there are new transitions. Let's jump over to transitions. And I'm not sure exactly which ones are new. I see arrows solid. That one I'm sure is a new one. If we add that to the end, well, I don't know that it's showing very much. Let's jump out of this and try adding it to the end of this whole thing rather than the end of a specific item in there. So if I go here, there we go. It's transitioning. Good. Is there something? I'm trying to see. It looks like there's nothing out here. So I'm wondering why there's something on the screen when there's nothing on the timeline. At least I don't see anything on the timeline. I'm perplexed. Where is this thing? I don't have any idea. But regardless, we can see, here's a new transition there. I'm sure there are other new transitions in this list. I'm not sure which ones they are, but I guess they've added a few. So new transitions, thank you for those. I personally don't use a lot of transitions. I like fade and just cutting, but blend mode. So here's another one of the big items that they've added, blend mode. So if I go to visual effects, they have this thing called blend mode. So this is, think about stacking things on top of each other. It's going to be similar to what we had before with media mats and whatnot. So if I have, let's see, let's go to my media. No, let's go to the library. Let's find a couple of things to bring in. Actually, let's go to a new project. We won't save this one. And I will find some media to bring in. Let's bring in, where are you? Let's find, okay, well here's one, downloaded. This was when I downloaded 2022, Camtasia 2022. And how about, we'll find something that is perhaps more interesting. I don't know if it'll be more interesting or not. Videos. Let's just do a recent upload that I've done. And I think this is the video. Good. Yes. So here's a video. What we can do is with blend mode, we can combine the two. I mean, you think about it, it's like adding opacity. It's a lot more than just adding opacity, but what we can do is merge the two together. So if I look, let's just say right here, I'm going to take this point here. I'm going to go to my visual effects. I'm going to grab blend mode and I'm going to drag it down to this one. So now you can see there's a combination of the two videos here together, and there are different modes, right? If I choose different modes, I can see different things happening depending on what mode I choose, and each of those modes, has different settings within. So there's this intensity, there are the different ranges. So if I wanted to change just the green or just the blue or something like that, like I can go in here and choose different color ranges as well. Like we said before, we can change the intensity, we can invert. But let's see one that really, okay, so let's try hard, what does that say, hard light? Okay, I don't know what hard light is, but here there are a couple of things happening at the same time, right? So this is a blend mode for blending videos together. You wouldn't want to do that with two screencasts. It doesn't make sense to blend two screencasts together. But what you could use this for is, a lot of people will use this in image compositing. So they'll have two different images or maybe even three, and they'll try and blend things together. Like you might see like a person's face and you'll see clouds behind it or something like that. Or, you've probably seen things like that where it looks like a double exposure kind of thing. So you see like perhaps a profile of somebody, and their profile has, it's just a bunch of clouds behind them. So something like that where you're doing something artistic. That's really what this blend mode is for. You can think of it, like I said before, as using track mats, but even doing that on steroids. Like it's even more intense than what we had before. Those of you who have used Photoshop in the past to do different blending modes, this should be very familiar to you. Those of us who haven't used that very much, just think about adding transparency, but it's so much more than just transparency. Those who know what it does knows how powerful it can be. Not something that I think that I envision using too much. But like I said, for those who are doing more artistic effects in Camtasia, if you want to combine a couple of images, if you do want to put, combine, nature with, something industrial, put those two together, like overlap to create a certain feel or contrast, you can do that with blend mode. All right, so that was one of the major items. Let's look at what else we have here. Blend range, outline effects, and spotlight effect. Okay, so we looked at our visual effects, and I just didn't scroll down. We have a couple. So here's outline and spotlight. If I remove this guy, pull this guy off to the side, let's try adding spotlight to this, and we can see that it really does add a spotlight to it. You can see it looks like a light that's shining down here. It looks like we can move this light, shine a spotlight further down here or closer up here. I'm guessing we can change that origin point as well. Yeah, so it could be shining from the bottom up and across that way. And I believe that Mac had this at least one, maybe 2 or 3 versions ago as well. So you can highlight a specific area of your screen if you would like. That's the spotlight effect. And then on the outline edges, I will go back, I will remove, or I'll just disable blend mode. And outline edges, let's see, if I grab outline edges and attach it here, you can see that it finds the edges of things, right? So you can see that it kind of made everything look like a drawing, if you want to think of it that way. So it's a visual effect that, as I play through this, you can see everything that's happening, but it's made it more of a high contrast with, a white background and black outlines for everything. So again, if there's need for this kind of effect, I could imagine you trying to simplify things without that effect on. You can see what that looks like. But with the effect, I think it makes things simpler. Perhaps it cleans things up. So maybe you want to use it for a reason like that, just to simplify things. Honestly, not 100% sure how you would use that, but at least we can see what that effect is. So that is the outline effect. New and improved default library. Good. Let's do that. Default library. So I mentioned this earlier. I think this is one of the better things that they have in Camtasia with the library. Let me just check something here real quick while I'm zipping around. Okay, good. And hello from Samam. Hello in the chat. Okay, so looking here in the library, all new, I shouldn't say all new. I don't know if it's all new, but lots of new music that's here for us to add. They have added more callouts and countdowns, and there's just so much. They've added over 1,000 things. I don't know. Did they say that in here? They say it's like 1,000. Yes, over 1,000 new custom assets. I think that's fantastic for anybody who is creating new content in Camtasia. This being able to use these callouts and anything else that they provide is super helpful. So for those who are less experienced with Camtasia, how to create all these little things, Camtasia has said, hey, why don't we provide you with subscribe buttons and things like that, animated subscribe buttons that'll come in and click and tell folks to subscribe. So if you're creating things on a YouTube channel, or you're doing certain training things, a lot more assets available there for you. So I think it's fantastic. I'm very happy that they added those. I could probably spend hours just inside the new library assets. I would encourage you to check them out. I think they've really upped their game. They've really made things a lot more professional in that area. So my hat is off to them in adding those. Check those out for yourself. Find ones that you can use. I'm sure there'll be lots that you can't use, but don't focus on those. Focus on the ones that Camtasia provided you that can help make your videos look more professional. All right, back to our list. We're nearing the end. New project templates, we looked at that. Spell check available. Okay, good. So if we are to create a new text box, so let's do that. I'll go over to my annotations and I'll grab text and I'll bring it in and I'll say, Ron is great. I shouldn't say great. There we go. Ron is great. Let's see. There we go. So I wanted to intentionally misspell great, and it's telling me now it has the red underline that we're used to from other word processing programs. Hey, you didn't spell great right. Oh, how is that? It should be, well, I shouldn't do it that way. Yeah, so grat isn't correct. How about that? Does that work? And that does work. Now that's very prideful of me. I shouldn't put Ron is great. I should put Ron has fun. There we go. That's better. And yeah, no issues there. So yeah, I'm glad that they put that in. So if people have a typo, looks like they will get that underline and let us know that there's something wrong with what you wrote there. All right. Next up, paste as plain text option. So if you weren't aware, what you can do is you can get formatted text. What do I mean by that? Let me see if I have a Word doc. I think I can open up a Word doc that has some content in it. This will work well. So I have a Word doc here, and let's say I want to grab this content. And I'm going to select it, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to come over here, I'm going to right click, or not right click, but I'm going to double click and I'm going to paste it. We can see that some of that data was saved. Now, like what? Well, for example, the font, I believe, and the size. Yeah, so it's Lado, and it was, I guess, a 36-point font in Word. Let's just check here, Lado 36. So in that case, it grabbed everything, it brought it over with that additional data. Okay, let me Control Z and get back to where I had it before, where I said something about Ron and fun. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. I'm typing that a lot. Okay. All right, I don't see anything else. Okay, so now if I were to type something, There we go. I can see it's Montserrat regular 96-point font. I'm just going to delete that for now. If I grab this same thing, I'm going to highlight the same text I just grabbed, right click, I'm going to copy it. I should be able to come in here, and instead of Control V to paste, I'm going to do Control Shift V. There we go. And now what it did was it kept Montserrat regular 96 point with Control Shift V, pasting it without its settings, as opposed to, if I just delete this and Control V pasted it with all those settings. So that's Lado regular and 36-point font. So you can see how if you're working with something and you need to have all that styling, you need it to be a specific size, you need a certain font, all of those things, we can just Control V to paste in. But if you didn't want that and you want to use the font settings that are already established inside Camtasia, Control Shift V will allow you to do that. Let's see, we're near the end. What else do we have? Added duplicate media shortcut. So duplicate media in other programs is just Control D. So let's do that here. One of the things we'll see here, so let me show you what I mean by this. If I wanted to use this same text item, let me Control Z and go, oh, now it's going back to what it was before. Okay, so let's say I wanted to use this same item over and over again. I would have to Control C to copy. I'll show you the wrong way. Let me zoom in down here so you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to do Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And the advantage or disadvantage, depending on how you're looking at it, is Control C and Control V. First of all, it's 2 steps. And secondly, it pastes it right where the playhead is. All right, so I'm going to Control Z to undo that. Instead, I'm going to select this thing. I'm going to do Control D. And now I can see that it placed it right over top of where it was before. What if I come over here with the playhead? Control D. It duplicated it again up here. It doesn't matter where my playhead is. What if I'm past the end? Control D. It's just stacking it up here on top of each other. So when you have something, you'll be able to duplicate it using Control D right there in that same area. So you're not going to paste it somewhere else inside your project. So that's a duplicate. You can also use, let's go back. You can also right click, and I think you can duplicate from here. Yep, there's a duplicate there, and there it shows you the Control D shortcut. All right, so that is duplicate. Added audio output gain adjustment for control on the TimelineVU Meter. So the TimelineVU Meter, if I go here and I click play, you can see that this is the VU meter or view meter. I don't know if you pronounce the letters or you pronounce it as view. Regardless, I guess there's some kind of adjustment there. I don't know what the adjustment is, but looks like they made some kind of change. All right, well, thank you for that. Added HEVC video decoding support. All right, this is H.265. So when we think about MP4s, and we typically create videos with MP4s, it uses the H.264 codec. This HEVC is the H.265 codec. So this is the new one. This is the improved one. This is the one that things are going to be going forward. You can still create MP4s. I believe you can create MP4s with this codec, but it's new. And so if you download perhaps some newer videos, they might be encoded with this newer codec. It is supposed to provide greater compression for your videos and still maintain the same amount of quality. So expect to see this HEVC coming into popularity as time goes on because, like I said, it is supposed to be more efficient. So H.265 support there. Thank you, Camtasia, for that. Or thank you, Techsmith, I guess, for that. And then what else do we have? Added restore audio context menu and an option to range select all media. Okay, so let's do the restore audio context menu. So if I made a change to my media, my audio, I should say. So if I went here, I went to the audio, and let's say I lowered the gain, but I raised this bar, and I grabbed this part, and I used Shift S to silence that part, and I made all these changes, and I said, oh, I probably made too many changes, right? I went into here, maybe I did, I don't know what else I did, but let's say I did all those things. I should be able to now right-click, and I'm sure it's here. I'm going to find it. Restore audio. There it is. Shift R to restore audio. And then it looks like it took everything back, except the gain. So I can just click the restore there to change that gain back. So any of the edits that I made here on the timeline, apart from the gain in the upper right, looks like right-clicking and restoring the audio will bring things back to what they were before. And then range select on all media to the left or to the right of the playhead. So let's see how that works. Is there a way? So I hold down Shift. Not even sure how that works. I'm sure it says that there's a way to, well, let's see, right click. Yeah, I don't know how this works. There's apparently some option to say, I want to select everything from here back to the beginning. What I do, if you need to do that, hold down the Shift key. I think this works. Shift Control Home. That'll grab all of those things. Or I'll just double click. If I do Shift Control End, that'll grab everything from that point to the end. So there's apparently some other way to do that. Keyboard shortcuts work just fine for me. If that works fine for you, then that's great. But that brings us to the end of this. Thank you for sticking around with me for so long. Went through a lot of different things. Expect to see some more detailed videos coming out from the channel in the future. And if you have questions about things, or if you have some things to share with me, I don't know how all of this works. I'm more than happy to hear your input and get your feedback on things that you think will work well in Camtasia. I have a lot of great friends in the Camtasia community who are happy to share what they've learned, like I'm happy to share with you the things that I've learned. Hopefully this has been helpful. So drop comments below on things that I should have mentioned and didn't, or things that you are looking forward to in Camtasia. I'll be happy to read and respond to those comments. Until next time.